Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 66 today for the Italian Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous episode, the Belgian Grand Prix, uploaded just yesterday, then be sure to go check that one out. I am really spoiling you guys this month on the run-up to Christmas. We've had daily uploads of My Team Career Mode for the last 3 days, and there'll be more to come this week on the run-up to Christmas, so hope you guys are enjoying that. Be sure to hit the like button if you are, and let me know in the comments below. But let's get into this then. The Italian Grand Prix coming off the back of a fantastic Belgian Grand Prix episode for us, for the team. It was a, spoiler alert, another 1-2 finally for the team, and we got that elusive win under our belt. It's been a long while since we've won a race in My Team Career Mode, and I was wondering for a second there, was it ever going to happen? Because I've seen other creators as well. The general gist is you get later on into seasons with this game and maxed out cars, it seems like the AI get harder and harder to actually beat, and they become really quite alien-like sometimes in their pace. The My Team car gets a little bit worse in relative comparison sometimes to maxed out cars, and so I was wondering, you know, am I actually going to get a win at some point? But finally the car was performing very well, and the key difference was I was fighting my teammate Jenson Button, so we could kind of work as a team. We had a very, very tasty, but I would say fair fight at the Belgian Grand Prix. It was actually fantastic. For the first time this season, I went up against my all-time favorite Formula 1 driver. I was kind of waiting for a moment where we could have a titanic scrap like that, and we finally had it around a place where he went so well back in like 2012 and drove like an absolute god in that race, and it was a fantastic one too. Of course, we saw a Williams on pole in that episode, so all round it was a bit chaotic. We had rain, Brazil 2012 vibes the entire race, and yet we'd never used a wet weather tyre. So last episode had it all. It was a really good one, so definitely go check it out if you have not already. And it meant that Jenson Button retook the lead of the Drivers' Championship, but we are now 1 point behind him, 98 to 97 points. Verstappen down to third, Ricciardo P4, so it's all still to play for with just under halfway of this season left to go. But before we get into the next round of the championship, the race weekend at Italy, big breaking news, a retirement announcement. Sergio Perez is going to be retiring from Formula 1, from our career mode series at the end of this season. What a topsy-turvy end of the career he has had. Obviously, he was at Red Bull in Season 1. We signed him. He narrowly lost the championship to myself, and obviously was fighting with Sebastian Vettel for most of the season. Had a sabbatical after he rejected to re-sign for us in Season 3, having obviously lost out to the team owner, myself in Season 3. Came back from that sabbatical to rejoin Red Bull, the new improved Red Bull, alongside my other former teammate, Mick Schumacher, for this season. It's been going a little bit up and down. Red Bull, I think, overall, have been one of the fastest cars out there, but they've had their fair share of bad luck and reliability issues as of late, especially with Schumacher's car. But he's announced his retirement. In a very weird turn of events, Hamilton's AI is still yet to retire, even though he's definitely overdue retirement, I would say. In terms of AI, his AI's form has just dipped completely like it did in F1 2020, and instead a man who's in plenty of form and speed is going to retire out of a very quick car. So interesting times. That's going to be hopefully a big domino effect, because that's a big seat to fill. And even though it's been a bit of a topsy-turvy season and Red Bull aren't right at the front dominating this one, they're one of few teams that have had back-to-back victories this season, so it is a top seat. But that is a question we'll answer when the dust settles at the end of this season. Now, looking ahead to the Italian Grand Prix, it's going to be starting on the back foot a little bit, knowing we have to take a 10 players grid penalty. You just saw there, I changed the component for the control electronics. Our 2 components were given for the whole season. They've got to a point where they're starting to be a bit too worn out, and that part of the engine, if it's too worn out, it starts wearing out the rest of the car even more so. So it's worth worth changing now, and in a place like Italy, a 10-place penalty may not be so bad, you know, great slipstream, let's say we got pole position, because in theory, our car, like I said, the My Team car goes well at Belgium. It also generally goes well around Italy as well, not, entirely similar circuit, but it's got characteristics of needing a lot of top-end speed and trying to find that balance between drag and downforce, so I'm hoping our car would go well around here, myself and Jenson included, to try and, keep the momentum we just gained from a 1-2 around Spa. So if we were to get pole, for example, we'd go down to P11. That's not too bad in the grand scheme of things, especially when the grid is so tight. There might be a few big names that are knocked out in P11, P12. So we're going to see how that goes. But right now, getting through the sessions on Saturday in qualifying, Guan Yu Zhou fastest of all in the Williams. So the Williams again looking quick as it did in Spa. No surprise, like I said, from Spa to Italy, you'd hope there's some correlation and crossover there. Norris though right up there in the McLaren, the AlphaTauris together in P5 and 6. So interesting first outing there, and the Ferraris lacking a lot of pace here in a straight line, it would seem, or maybe they just didn't get a good enough lap in Q1, because sometimes, Q1 lap times with the maxed out cars, sometimes it's kind of, on the day, kind of like in real life, sometimes mistakes are made, traffic's there, people don't get the lap times in. So let's see what Q2 says. Generally, a more representative session, I would say, in terms of the actual one-lap pace of everyone around here. And I'm really hoping we can get through into Q3 on one set of soft tyres, just to give us the opportunity to go for 2 runs in the top 10 shootout. I think around here, for me especially, I need 2 runs in that last top 10 shootout, because there's always some time you can find, especially in the first sector with the way the curbs are. You need to find the perfect line to not scrub off speed hopping over the very 3D curbs, and we go fastest of all in Q2 then and get through into the top 10 shootout in one go. But for the second time in 3 races, Jenson Button is knocked out in P11, so it wasn't a great day for him on Saturday around Silverstone. Bounced back well at Belgium, finished the 1-2 with me, but here I don't know what happened. I don't know, he was nearly 8/10 off me in Q2. That's a bit of a madness, really. So I think he must have got held up in traffic, or didn't get the lap time in, in good time or whatever. But he's knocked out then. But he's knocked out then. The championship leader by 1 point knocked out. Of course, I remember, I've got a 10-place penalty. So if I was to get pole, I would literally be starting 1 place behind him. So I mean, the F1 gods, they're maybe looking down upon me a little bit there and helping me out potentially, I don't know. But you've also got some other big names, like I mentioned, knocked out. You've got Mick Schumacher, Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri. Very surprised at him, because Gasly's up there in P4, and I thought this would have been a track that AlphaTauri would have gone well at. Generally speaking, along with Williams, they've been very decent in a straight line. Clearly, those lower teams, when they max out their cars, I think they max out more on the kind of drag side rather than the downforce side, whereas McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, they still retain their kind of overall highest status as downforce heavy cars. And so at circuits like these, I feel like they always go well. So Tsunoda surprising, especially more so really than like someone like Schumacher, to be honest, being knocked out there. But it's just so close as well in this entire pack. We've had 9 different winners in 9 races, so it's not a shock that, anyone could get knocked out in Q2. And with that, we just move on, have to keep our head down, can't think too much about what Jenson and what everyone else is doing, and we focus on the task at hand of trying to qualify as high as we can to try and limit the damage of that grid penalty. And this first run's been smooth sailing. Haven't taken, though, as many risks as I maybe could have in the first sector, and we're down by a second, it would seem, to Gasly, that was, according to the top left there. Verstappen P2, Bottas up into P3 then, so the Williams has been knocked off the top step, it would seem, that it showed to be maybe from Q1 and Q2. Made a bit of a mistake there for us in the second sector, where we're still about 4/10 up, gaining more time. The overcast conditions have come through, the clouds are out, so the track's a bit colder. Is that going to come towards our car, I wonder? We had a second to find, though. Gasly's pole time, seemingly an alien-like time. We gain about 5.5 tenths, and that's good enough to go second place place. So for 3 races in a row, we've qualified in second, but obviously for us, that won't be where we start the race tomorrow. But Gasly, what a lap time from him. What the hell did he do around Monza? He is, well, quite well and truly smashed all of us in Q3 for pole position there. Verstappen in a very good P2 to kind of climb back a little bit after a bit of a devastating race for him and Mercedes last episode. And Bottas showing, though, that Williams still have some good pace, even though Guan Yu Zhou, maybe he's going to be a bit upset being down in P9 after showing some promise in Q1. But for us, I think we did the maximum we could, because I don't know what Gasly did. I think that's a bit of a glitch time, personally speaking, because I don't think I could have found that much more time there. I think I was on the limit in terms, especially through Ascari there, you would have seen. So we know what we have to do. It's going to be a fight back and a bit of a comeback drive for us tomorrow, but raring to go. Clearly have some speed in the car to put on the front row. Let's go to the grid.
It's time for the Italian Grand Prix once again, here at the beloved and iconic Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. With the lowest downforce and drag of any circuit in the season, expect to see drivers making the most of the slipstream effect here today. With top speeds reaching 215 miles per hour, only a few places can challenge Monza's crown as the fastest circuit in F1. Hard braking zones going into the 3 chicanes make up the majority of the 11 corners on this 3.6-mile circuit. And just in case the slipstream wasn't enough, 2 DRS zones will help encourage some closer action. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's have a chat about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Pierre Gasly yesterday puts him on pole, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Perez, Charles Leclerc and Norris, Russell, Zhou, Ricciardo and Mick Schumacher. The owner driver, they've taken a grid penalty, Sainz, Esteban Ocon and Tsunoda, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Lance Stroll and Callum Ilott, Lundgaard, Button, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Matsushita and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So, I'm not the only one with a grid penalty. Maybe that's why Jenson was struggling qualifying yesterday, because he has got a 10-place penalty at least, as well himself, as he's at the back of the grid now, along with Lewis Hamilton. So maybe his AI, his side of the garage, they only took the penalty maybe potentially between quali and the race, because that may explain his lack of pace if his components are worn out maybe on Saturday. And then I don't know exactly how the system works for the AI in our teammates, but maybe there was a threshold percentage number that his components eventually crossed on Saturday, and that's why they've got the penalty, because otherwise I would feel like he would have had a fresh set of components to perform just as well as I did, basically. So yeah, a bit of an odd one. So instead of being behind Jenson, we are actually quite a bit ahead of him then, and we've got a good chance then maybe to score some decent points if we can just make a couple overtakes over him, because he's got to do double the job that I've got to do, because he's got pretty much double the cars to try and overtake. Either way, though, it's going to be quite an action-packed race for not only myself and Jenson, but for everyone on this grid, as Italy always is on the F1 game. Strategy looks like to be a pretty simple one-stop, but let's see what the tyre we're saying when we get into it as we go now to 5 red lights to the Italian Grand Prix from P11 on the grid. The lights are out and we're on the way to good start for Schumacher. Slow one for Ricciardo. Even better one for Carlos Sainz. We bogged down, getting swamped by 2-3 cars there. Ocon and Tsunoda on the right hand side. We've been tapped round. We've been spun round by Tsunoda. We've T-boned Carlos Sainz. We've got front wing damage and we take to the escape road. And the Italian Grand Prix started in the worst fashion it could have for myself. We've gone from winning a Grand Prix at Belgium, a 1-2 for the team. Myself and Button are now P18 and P22, and we've got major front wing damage. Like, that's going to be a definite early pit stop here. So I don't know about everyone else, but it will be probably a 2 stop for me, you're thinking, because of how long we have to go in this race. But let's look at a replay then as Gasly leads the way we saw. Well, I took avoiding action on the Ferrari, but as I did that, my right front tyre just went very unfortunately into the path of Yuki's left rear, and it's a racing incident. His car just basically connected and conjoined in mine like a jigsaw puzzle and spun me round, flick spin me into the Ferrari, and that's where we lost the damage, just in such close proximity with one another. And now we're faced with a very early pit stop as we watch on a lot of action. 3 abreast here, this is Schumacher and the McLaren of Ricciardo either side of George Russell there. Fantastic racing as Ricciardo went on the right hand side and Schumacher on the left of Russell, 3 wide into Parabolica, and we saw Jenson making some moves up into P16, but we're now going to come in for a lap 1 pit stop along with Lance Stroll, and we have to change our front wing. But you know, that was the kind of incident that happens when you're in the middle of the grid for the start of the race. You know, that doesn't really happen, or rarely happens, when you're at the sharp end, but that's the jeopardy of having a grid penalty, being 10 places back in the middle of the pack. You're going to have some slower or, you know, faster cars that, you know, get a good start. You know, the midfield drivers are hungry. I say midfield drivers, you know, there's no real midfield per se this season, I feel. Just everyone down to like P15 is hungry because they know they can get points. Everyone is so close together in terms of race pace especially. So everyone's, you know, just searching for space, and, you know, we kind of got squeezed out of space. We had to take avoiding action on the Ferrari, and it's just really unfortunate we got caught up with Tsunoda. So it is what it is. We now have to get our head down. We've got a long race ahead of us, but we've got Gasly in the lead of this Grand Prix, defending against one Valtteri Bottas. Bottas has already got Verstappen on the race start on lap 1, but he wants more. He wants first place. He wants the lead of the Italian Grand Prix early on lap 3. Couldn't quite do it then. Can he do it on the outside of Iscari? Yes, he can. What an overtake. Valtteri Bottas now into the lead of this Grand Prix in the Williams. Gasly down to P2. Verstappen close behind, and he may go for a move. The Dutchman trying to get up into second place. Perez is in the mix, and even the Ferrari of Leclerc, the top 5, covered by just about a second here. This is going to go all the way to the last lap, I can already tell. But who's going to come out on top right now? Bottas in the lead. Can he fend off Verstappen? No, it's going to be 3 wide for the race lead at the Italian Grand Prix. And Verstappen gets through, pulls out ahead of Bottas there, gets the elbows out on the right side, tries to push out Gasly, but Gasly does equally well to come back at him. The AlphaTauri has superior acceleration, it would seem, on the outside, and is back up into P1, so the lead changes 3 different times. Meanwhile, this is a replay of a stonking lap 2 from Jenson Button. Overtakes one Alfa Romeo, looking to get another, and Jenson, I think he's already up into now with these moves into P12 or 11, I think I saw there on the ladder. But just trying to, you know, focus and show you this, because this is, you know, some supreme driving from an AI, you know, because you don't see this too often. Sometimes, even last episode from Perez and Verstappen's AI, they got held up and just, you know, stayed at the back of the grid. But Button is really pressing on with this comeback drive of his from the back of the grid as he goes 3 wide with the Alpine cars of Russell and Ocon there, and is so pinpoint aggressive but accurate enough not to get damage here, and just does enough to overtake those 2. And so yeah, I think he's up into P11 as now we see, oh no, Guan Yu Zhou, as we see Guan Yu Zhou out of the Grand Prix on lap 3 then. It's a DNF for him. Russell's in the pits. I don't know if that's a related issue. No, it doesn't look to be, as we see a replay then. It's just a mechanical failure. So that's going to be nervous times then for Williams on the other side of the garage, because their other man, Valtteri Bottas, is fighting Verstappen and Gasly for the race lead, the win maybe by the end of this one, and they're going to hope that they don't have another issue with their second car. Russell's made a pit stop. I don't know what for. Potentially maybe damage whilst he was fighting Ocon and Button with that 3 wide into turn 1 maybe. Either way, he's pit and he's now fighting us. He's pit onto the soft compound tyre though, so he's, you know, we've gone onto mediums by the way, because I want to give myself the option, you know, if we could get to the end on the mediums, which apparently we could have, obviously, if it was a normal, you know, strategy, then I want to give myself the option of staying out long, maybe having to end the race on like 90% plus tyre wear, and just see how we go, basically. But we overtake Russell with a pretty good pace on these mediums at the moment. But now the full course safety car is out, and that may just change everything, and it's because of this incident we're about to see right now. So this is Bottas going for second place on Verstappen. Verstappen squeezes him, and Bottas having to get out of the throttle pedal not to crash with Verstappen, ironically causes an incident with Perez as Perez runs into the back of Bottas on the race weekend where he announces his retirement from Formula 1. Him and Red Bull just can't seem to catch a break, and maybe that's why he is retiring in a similar fashion to Fernando Alonso not getting any luck last season for Red Bull in this career mode. But Bottas is in, Verstappen, Gasly as well. So Bottas, no damage it would seem for Bottas. So he's actually very lucky because, you know, that was a massive hit on his rear end there. So he's lucky the game doesn't have the same sort of damage obviously you would face in real life with a hefty hit like that. But Gasly's in. He puts on a strap on soft tyres, and Bottas as well. So they're not even going on to medium. So they're committing to a two-stop even with this safety car. And what's happened to Verstappen? Well, Verstappen has been held up massively, and it's because of the Red Bull's double stacking. Perez is in, he's changed his front wing, and now Schumacher is in. So it took a while for Perez to even get out the pit box, so that just slowed down Schumacher even more, and Schumacher was left parked in front of Verstappen. So a bit of a foible with the F1 game when there's double stacking involved. So in the end, Verstappen somehow and Schumacher came off worse than Perez in that. Perez had no front wing and he came off better than his own teammate and Verstappen in that pit stop window under the safety car. Bottas also as well gained one position up into P2 effectively because Hamilton is yet to come in for his pit stop. He remains in P1. I don't know if he's trying a one stop and he's just refusing to pit under this one. But yeah, interesting, the AI, they've all pit onto soft, so they don't think mediums could go to the end from here on out. So they're committing to a two-stop early and not even going to try a gamble on it. So I think that's going to have to force us into reconsidering this option of, I think we're going to have to then end the race then and make another pit stop here in the remainder of this race and end on a set of soft tyres. To be fair though, at least that means I'm going to end the race on a faster compound than everyone else because everyone will have to pit onto mediums. And in reality then, that actually means the safety car has hurt me a little bit because everyone else got a free pit stop under the safety car, whereas I did not because I had to pit on lap 1. So, yeah, getting screwed over a little bit with the, you know, the unraveling of this first part of this race, but I can't really do too much about it. Just have to, you know, race the race that's in front of me. So we'll have to try our best then on the restart to try and make up positions and hope that the soft compound tyre starts to wear out before my mediums do. And our main championship rival at the moment, the championship leader, Jenson Button, he also jumped up the order. He's into P7, so he's had a fantastic opening 7 laps here from the back of the grid as we now go to green and we're jockeying for position, waiting for them where we can actually overtake the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll. There we go across the line, all fair game now. ERS deployed. Where's Latifi going on the inside? We're going to go to the outside then of him, take avoiding action on Schumacher, who's slow into turn 1. He's too busy watching on what Verstappen's doing. Verstappen almost pushes us into the gravel trap and Schumacher gets on his inside, so Schumacher wakes up then finally and then re-engages with Verstappen for that overtake. Latifi gets us. We're on the left-hand side. This has been a chaotic and manic restart to the Grand Prix. I thought we could easily get some people into turn 1, but no, Verstappen being very aggressive into turn 1 has hindered me and allowed Schumacher back through. And now that we're fully up to speed, Schumacher may be a harder target. Let's see as we're now on the outside of the Silver Arrow. Schumacher, oh, Schumacher's in. Oh, did Schumacher get damaged then maybe whilst he was fighting Verstappen there? Maybe he was too aggressive into turn 1. So either way, we got Schumacher, he's in the pits, we got Verstappen now, and we look to use the clean air to catch up to the next set of cars, and that's going to include Jenson Button fighting, that is Perez, and we've got Tsunoda versus Hamilton. Tsunoda on the inside. Hamilton, remember, he's yet to pit from that first set of soft tyres, so his softs are really worn. He's gone from first place down to 6th in literally a lap or two's time. It's 3 wide now. Button on the inside of Tsunoda and Hamilton for the double overtake from Button. Oh, it's very fine. Surely someone's going to get some damage here. The elbows are well and truly out for everyone. Bit of squirming on the front end that was for Tsunoda, but Button carves his way through. He's up into P5. He's having a cracker race. This is a race that wins you a championship sort of thing because, you know, he was right on the last row of the grid. P P5, massive points for us. We're 1 point behind him in the championship going into this one, and we're left here looking like a lemon in P12 right now. So we need to really get our socks, pull our socks up, get our heads down, and get a move on to chase after these guys. Hopefully Tsunoda, Perez, Ricciardo, they can, you know, fight a bit more maybe and slow each other down, and we can chase after them. Meanwhile, in the lead of this Grand Prix, well, Bottas and Gasly, they're in a world of their own, really. They've already got a 2-second gap to Norris and Leclerc, so those two will be battling for the lead, I think, for the remainder of this Grand Prix, any safety cars permitting. Let's see, lap 11 on to 12. This will be looking to overtake one Alpine of Ocon. We've already got his other, his teammate Russell earlier on in the Grand Prix, to be fair. On the outside, easy does it on the power, trying to find the earliest time I can slam down the throttle and then get through on the exit and then chase after that man ahead in the Ferrari. Carlos Sainz, bit of a hard customer though. We don't fly past him and catch him up at the rate of knots I thought we would versus the Alpine. Instead, we wait a whole lap and then we make a move on lap number 13 with DRS at our aid, and we're up into P9 now. Bit of clean air now ahead, and then we've got Perez, Ricciardo. I think Button is actually still having to defend and fight Tsunoda, so I think Button himself, our own teammate, actually may help us in this situation, because it looks like he may be struggling now for tyre wear on the soft compound tyre. Tsunoda on the outside, Ricciardo as well. Button has lost 2 positions, so I think he really is struggling on those soft tyres. Ricciardo with another punchy overtake. He's been making some really good ones this race. That move he made alongside Schumacher on lap 1 into Parabolica was brilliant, but that was also equally just as good. Button now defending, and, well, not defending, he's actually just allowing Perez to overtake him because he's got no tyres left. Button really not liking those soft tyres. It's unusual to see Jenson struggling in terms of tyre ways. He's quite smooth on them, but no, he's clearly got some issues on the softs as we now watch Bottas successfully defend against Gasly once again for this race lead. Williams v AlphaTauri for 1-2 here. Leclerc similarly attacking Norris and getting up into P3, I think that was, because Lando was in P3 initially. So those two in their own little fight for P3 down to 4. And then, like I said, Tsunoda down to Button. That's a Titanic scrap, and it's one that's allowed us to close up to Button. We're now within 1 second of Button, so he is definitely struggling. He's in now. I'm surprised he wasn't in on the previous lap when they all came in, but he's in now for a set of medium tyres. We'll carry on and try and stretch this stint for 2 more laps, and now we're going to come in for a set of soft compound tyres. We're trying to go a little bit longer. It was crucial because, remember, I don't have any new set of soft tyres left. They're all used ones from qualifying, so they'll be slightly worn at the start. So crucial just for that one last lap of the Grand Prix. You never know, I might be making an overtake on the last lap of the Grand Prix, so 1 lap more on mediums will maybe allow me to make that overtake at the end of the race on these soft tyres with that 1 less lap of tyre on them potentially. But we have obviously lost some time as well. We've lost some ground. We're down to P12 now on those old mediums. You know, they didn't do us some good there, but it's time to make up the time on these softs and get a move on and see where we can recover to. Meanwhile, at the sharp end of the grid, Bottas still in P1 for now. 7 laps to go. Gasly on his tail. Can he make a move for P1? He sails past him, maybe with DRS, but they actually are side by side into turn 1. Bottas with a very late brake zone there to try and defend P1. The Finn very late on the brakes and maintains P1. Rightly so there. Really great stuff into turn 1. I thought Gasly had that and was about to turn in for the apex, but no, the Finn came back at him. Meanwhile, for us, our POV, lap 20 as we set a purple last sector, showing we have some good pace on these tyres with the only man on the red wall soft compound tyre. We overtake Ocon, we move back to the racing line to the inside as well to defend the position to make sure it doesn't come back at us, and we can see up the road Verstappen and Sainz are fighting as we set the fast up of the Grand Prix by some way now. So we are literally going like the clappers right now, and Sainz and Verstappen fighting, and they're slowing each other down, so we're just being invited into this fight maybe. Verstappen just edging out Sainz for P9. The Ferrari will stick with it though, but can we try and overtake Carlos before he gets another chance to have a go at Max? As we open DRS then, the Ferrari's got it as well, but we've got the overwhelming speed, the acceleration we gain off the corners helping as well, and we get to the apex nice and early to make sure Sainz isn't trying anything funny. We're up into P10. Can we get P9? We try and break the toe of the Ferrari first, then try and get in the slipstream of Verstappen. Where is Verstappen going to go? He's in the middle of the track. He defends the inside. Don't really have the room to try around the outside. Verstappen's played that really well through through Parabolica, but can we get the exit, the run onto the main straight? Verstappen awkwardly parking the car in the middle, but we go on the outside, DRS open, punch past him up into P9. Meanwhile, further up the road, we can see Button just getting past Ricciardo there, that was, back up into P5. So Button, having lost all three of those positions, regains them all in the medium compounder tyre, showing that there is some genuine good pace in this car when the tyres are fresh. Leclerc P4 in a world of his own right now. Lando's dropped him, and Lando is actually catching up to Bottas, who we've missed, by the way, has been overtaken. Gasly's in the lead. We missed the overtake, but Bottas is now trying to retake the lead. Not quite. Gets squeezed out, but we missed it whilst we were watching our own action. Gasly is into the lead of this Grand Prix once again in the AlphaTauri. He's ruined the day of Williams potentially here, looking for their first win of the season, their first win in a long while. And could this be Gasly's, return to the top side of the podium? And could he be the first repeat winner of this season? Or will Bottas have something to say about that? Will Lando get in the mix for the first repeat winner? Let's see. Into turn one, Gasly defends and really parks the car very well. That was really smart of him. He opened up a bit of room and then closed it immediately, not allowing Bottas to come in on the outside there. But the Williams is going to keep at it, and he's right on the tail, pretty much nose to tail, pushing him through Ascari on lap 23. At the end of it, onto 24 this will be, as we round the right-hander coming up. Bottas on the outside, on the right-hand side of your screen, goes the long way round, turns in. Gasly still there. The two maybe make some contact. I think they do, as they bang tyres, fighting for the lead of this Grand Prix. Will Lando Norris get in the middle as well? Will it be a three-way fight for the lead as the AlphaTauri just about heads in? Look at Lando go! Left to right, the McLaren tries to make a move. He's on the outside of Bottas, and that's going to allow Gasly to pull away. Bottas just about defends from Lando to maintain P2, but the McLaren trying to spoil the party for Williams and maybe even for AlphaTauri. Meanwhile, for us, in our own fight with an AlphaTauri, Tsunoda defends the inside very aggressively. We have to go to the outside then into turn one. He's a bit awkwardly over the curb. We have to do a bit of jockeying, and he's actually really aggressive with me in the exit there, really wanting to try to keep the position. And obviously so, because at the end of the race, you're going to fight tooth and nail for every position, and we are going to have to try and finish the job off on the next left-hander using a lot of ERS, and now getting 8th place booked in. But we've only got 2 laps left, like I said, and the gap ahead 2.2. I just don't think we have enough pace on those softs to catch up to Perez, Ricciardo and Button. So it's been a fantastic race for Button. He's deserved, the points he's getting, to recover from where he was on the starting grid to P5. Fair play, but I'm just a bit hard done by the luck we got in this race with the safety car and the strategy today. But it is what it is. It happens in Formula 1, and we take it on the chin and we move on. But something that's not over yet is this battle for P1. Bottas is back into the lead. Sorry, we missed the overtake somewhere, but he's back into the lead. But this is the hot seat. This is what matters. The last lap of the Grand Prix. Gasly goes for it. Can he repeat his iconic win from 2020 for AlphaTauri and win this Italian Grand Prix? Or will it be Bottas with a sensational surprise shock win for Williams? He's defended into turn one and he's maintained track position. Lando's in the mix as well, P3. Could he actually bother the AlphaTauri and actually ironically help Bottas rather than hindering him, as he did on the previous clips we saw of this top 3 fight? Gasly and Bottas, though, what a scrap they've had. They've been going and swapping positions pretty much every lap since the beginning of this Grand Prix. Bottas, he was on pole position last episode. We unfortunately spoiled the party. It was a 1-2 for our team, but today from P3 on the grid, he's done so well. He's made some fantastic overtakes, and he's coming through the last 2 corners now. The last corner, Parabolica to go, and the AlphaTauri, is he going to make a late lunge? He will! Gasly goes for it into the last corner, but Bottas maintains P1. He rounds the bend. It's going to be his first win for Williams this season. It's Williams' first win for so long. What a victory, and what a scene this is at Monza. It's our 10th different winner in 10 races. Are you actually serious? Are you serious? 10 different winners in 10. Oh my god. Biblical scenes. Jenson Button driver of the day. Fair play. Deserved.
They made great use of the clear air today then and didn't allow anyone to exploit the slipstream behind them. What a great win here at Monza. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
It looks like it's time once again to hand out the silverware as the successful drivers make their way to the podium. It was a gritty performance today by Williams, and they've got the race win to prove it.
What a season this is turning into for Williams and Bottas here. He's really coming to his own at Williams, returning to his former team. And, you know, I think everyone will agree it's great to see Williams returning to fighting at the forefront. It's been a long while in real life and even in career modes gone by. You know, last year in F1 2020, in my team, in F1 2019, we've not really seen the back marker, quote-unquote, teams make their way up right to the sharp end and actually fighting for wins, unless obviously you know, obviously there's some exceptions for some of you guys at home, but I've never seen it. I've never seen Williams or any, you know, Haas or any of the lower teams, Alfa Romeo, any of those three teams actually climb their way back up or back to the front of Formula 1 for the first time. So it's actually crazy to see them finally do this in a career mode. This is what career mode, long-term, multiple seasons, is all about, is seeing this long-term payoff, and it's finally paying off for Williams. They're finally growing back into, you know, a strong team that since last episode has been third in the Constructors' Championship, and Bottas, he's third in the Drivers' Championship. He's only 12 points off Jenson here in P1, who grows his lead by a few points here to myself. Bottas is in the title fight now, if he keeps this up, because I feel like everyone down to, you know, I would say P7, Pierre Gasly, has still an outside chance of, you know, really getting into this, because you get one repeat winner now. Surely one of us in the top 7 now has got to be a repeat winner, or even top 8 with Lando there in P8. He's a few more points off the top though, but surely someone is a repeat winner now at Singapore. Surely 10 out of 10. That's bonkers. But now surely on the 11th round at Singapore, someone will be a repeat winner, and whoever that is, they're going to firmly put themselves into a driving seat for the Drivers' Championship fight with myself, with Jenson right there at the top. I'm sure whatever the case is though, Singapore is always a crazy one, the F1 game, so I'm sure it won't be a normal race, as it never is on this game and in this series. But guys, if you did enjoy that episode, the win for Bottas and Williams returning to the top step of Formula 1, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. When you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.